for Counselor McGivern, who will be delayed due to a prior commitment in the community, but he will be here later. Counselor Tallman will not be with us this evening due to a prior family engagement. To my left is Ward 2 Counselor Will Puello. He's with us. And online, I also see our Ward 6 Counselor Juan Anderson Burgos is with us. So we do have a quorum of the Finance Committee, and so with that in mind, we will begin. First item that we have on the agenda is item number 1, which is a transfer request from the Veterans Department. It is a $3,000 veteran benefits direct transfer to out-of-state travel for $3,000. Is there a motion to remove this off the table?
Yeah, motion to take up item 1.
Is there a second to that? I will second that. All in favor? Aye.
I'm sorry. I said second. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem, Juan. We got you. Thank you. So without further delay, I see our Veterans Administrator and Director is with us, Jesus Pereira. Jesus, can you speak to this item and this request for your department?
Sure. Good evening, and thanks for taking the time to go over this. This is a transfer request so that I attend a conference in Austin, Texas with the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers. This is their first live conference since the pandemic. It's a CEU training, it's legislative priority updates, things of that nature. It's in July of some time. And the $3,000 would cover airfare and hotel room.
Okay. And I see the mayor's here, but I'm just going to add, the mayor approve this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. All right. Will you be coming back or making some sort of report back on things that you've learned or any sort of type of materials that you had relative to that?
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. This is a big year for legislative changes in the Veterans Benefits Administration. I'm really interested to see what the priority is of the association. I could definitely come back with a report on to what's new, what's priority, and what may be changing for our local veterans.
Great, thank you. I'll recognize the mayor would like to speak. Mayor Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just heard Jesus, and I just wanted to clarify. You said it's in July, the event?
Or June, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. June?
It's within our fiscal year, yeah.
All right, we're good. All right.
All right, very good. Any questions, counselors, relative to this request? Okay.
All good here.
All right, very good. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, without further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved, unanimous, 3-0. Moving on to item number 2. Item number 2.
I'd like to make a motion to take up item number 2 off the table.
Second.
Second, motion's been made and seconded to take up item number 2 off the table. This is a transfer request in the amount of $4,440 to transfer from Veterans Benefit Direct to Contracted Professional Services. This is also for the Veterans Department. So without further ado, I'll recognize the Director, Jesus Pereira. Jesus?
Yes, sir. I don't remember exactly who this is for, but this is for another department. We have some extra fund in the Veterans Benefits Direct account. I think Tanya can clear up where it's going. It may be for our personnel department, I believe was the last conversation I had.
Okay.
That's not staying within my budget.
All right. Is Tanya with us?
She's not at the moment, and my apologies. I saw veterans and assumed veteran services and didn't look deeper to where it was going into. So I'll take the hit on that.
Okay, so we don't have HR and we don't have the auditor at the moment. So I will say in the quote unquote reason for the request, it was requested by Kelly Curran. It says the following: PR/HR assessment. So I'm assuming that's some sort of personnel resources, human resources, accrued paid time off, onboarding, and to create internal efficiencies between departments. It was approved by Kelly and Jesus, and it was signed off by the mayor. It looks like there's something here from Tyler Technologies to do some sort of investment assessment in the amount of $4,440 to acquire some services for them. Just continuing through my packet. Looks like some licensing fees are involved for Tyler. Perhaps some hardware is also articulated to this. And that's about it. While we're looking at the receiving end of the transaction, Jesus, these are two so far that have come out of your Veterans Benefit Direct. Is it that we over budgeted for that line and we have a series of excess dollars, or we don't have enough veterans to give this money to? Why are we having these type of surpluses in your account?
Well, the Veterans Benefit Direct account is a moving target every year. Our current budget was based off of about $30,000 a month or so average payout. This last fiscal year, we've seen a decrease in all those due to some of the veterans benefits that we've been able to secure through the Veterans Benefits Administration, which offsets the income for some of our veterans. We also had a couple pass away and some people move out of the city. So right now we're averaging a lot less than $30,000 a month for our veterans benefits payments for the time being.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, did you want to share any thoughts or?
Yeah, no, Tanya is gonna jump in about hopefully 30 seconds or so.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she just refreshed my memory a little bit. There is an HR function with Munis that our personnel director and Tanya are looking to maximize the use of that system. So that 4,000 plus is gonna allow for, and Tanya will jump in and go into more detail, but allow for the folks over at the Munis company to train and teach folks how to maximize the use of that system so that we can, do some more HR
Okay.
stuff out of that.
Got it.
And accrue time and some other things that the personnel department is looking on to, close the oversight gap as far as,
Okay.
the HR component is concerned.
Okay. I don't see her yet, so maybe what we should do is table this and then we move on to the next item. How's that sound?
Yeah, motion to table.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to table item number 2 for the moment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to take up item 3.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second to take up item number 3 off the table?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Aye.
Item number 3. Also, by the way, I did notice that we were just joined by Ward 1 Counselor Jenny Rivera has just joined us in the gallery. And welcome, Jenny. So item number 3 is a transfer request in the amount of $22,768 from 2 line items. First up is Inventory Control Coordinator, $7,293. Head Clerk, $15,475. So that's the total of $22,768. And the request is to transfer that to Accounts Payable Specialist, $11,672, and Office Specialist, $11,096. Again, for a total of $22,768. This is being requested by the Purchasing Department. And the reason for the request is stated as reclassification of Inventory Control Coordinator and Head Clerk positions. And then there's a notation here also, NAGE, which I know is the abbreviation for the name of the union. So with having said that, I'll recognize our Purchasing Director, Lori Belanger's with us. Lori, can you walk us through what this request is for?
Thank you. Good evening, counselors. As you know, the purchasing department has had some challenges as of in January, and before you is a I had started this process of reclassification and matching the steps with the reclassification over 2 years ago. And I was actually hoping to get this in for the new fiscal year, but the current conditions, this needs to be, addressed sooner. What has been done is taking into account the current job descriptions and job titles were severely antiquated and outdated. I've worked with our various HR directors going back, Hector, Kelly, and Sheila to come up with some more updated job titles, job descriptions, and then matching them with the current NAGE contract. This is all within my budget, given some of the shortfalls we've had since January. So basically what this would do is it would, there's 2 positions, inventory control coordinator and head clerk. Those positions would be eliminated from the NAGE schedule and then rolled into the new classification and the new job descriptions, which would be accounts payable specialist and office specialist. This would, the figures tonight, when I was working with Tanya, we had kind of looked at the remaining schedule in terms of payroll and things like that, and then taken into account what that looks like. So we brought these figures with a starting date on or around April the 4th. Given the lateness of this coming to committee and knowing it has to go to the next council meeting, there's probably going to be a bit of a buffer by the time I go through the process with Kelly in HR to advertise and go through the formal process. So by accepting this tonight, it would allow me to move forward and get on a plan, have a plan with Kelly to just, be able to formally advertise, and then to put the correct job titles and steps in place now. And then it would be forward within the contract. This has been reviewed by Lisa Ball, our label counsel, the NAGE president, Tanya, and the mayor. And that's my my ask for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Lori, it looks like one position is currently an S20. That's the inventory control coordinator. That would become an S33 accounts payable specialist. And the head clerk S17 position would be reclassed to an S30 office specialist. Question is, what is the overall, numerically, they'll sound like big upgrades. Is there an overall salary impact year? If this was annualized, or are you saying you can do this going forward within your budget such that this will have no overall impact financially to the city?
It will have an impact to the city for the new fiscal budget. This will get me with the upgrades and the salaries through June 30th.
Okay.
And I had presented, when I had my budget hearing with Tanya and Mayor Garcia, I had submitted in my budget the 2 upgraded positions and the figures
Okay, so
to
can
go
you
along with it.
Great. So what's on an annualized fiscal year, what is your projection to the cost of upgrading these 2 positions as you've requested? What would be the FY23 impact?
I'd have to calculate that out. I can give you an hourly range. So if we went from head clerk,
Okay. Mayor Garcia, while she's got her calculator.
I just have the draft budget. This fiscal year would be at $224,446, and the proposed department version budget for 23 is $240,000. So less than $20,000, I think. I'm terrible at math. 240,000 minus 224,000,
That would be 16,
about 60,000.
but that's the whole department. The question is,
Whole department.
is that like, is it just these positions is the only difference year over year, or did expenses go down, or?
Counselor Jordan, if I were just to do rough figures between the difference between the fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23 with the steps, everything included, it's just a tick over 9,000 for the two positions.
Okay, 9,000 a year. Okay, and you're doing this. Why is it's just you feel like the sophistication of the work is what justifies these higher grades, or what's the rationale?
A few things. I would not be doing my job as a department head if I were not looking out for my team and what has transpired over the last 2.5 years with the conditions. There were no job descriptions for head clerk and materials coordinator. So while these positions may have been in play the last, 5, 6, 7 years, they were, without having a baseline to compare it to, I couldn't make a determination. And I think in fairness to the office, it's incumbent, I think, every once in a while for department heads to revisit, titles, job descriptions, and the steps. So that's where I was at. I had started this before COVID. I do know that because there's a series of steps that I have to do to kind of get, this process, moving. And it, in talking with the mayor and with Kelly, and after some of the changes in the department, my wish is to get all of this, the financials and the steps and the job descriptions and the titles correct at this moment in time, because I have to fill positions. So my thought process is to have everything at this point in time prospective going forward versus having to maybe look at an adjustment for the fiscal year or sometime in the fall. This way here, everything would be in play, everybody's on board. The funding is covered in my budget right now to the fiscal year. There's, an increase for the new fiscal year, which the mayor is aware of. But it's incumbent that something happens at this point, because it's a very, very busy office, and my colleague Madi is hustling, and we're both splitting another position. So I'm looking for the confidence of the council to to be able to move this forward, so I can get my office to where it should be.
Okay. So, Mayor, you feel comfortable we can afford this, or?
So the goal, Counselor, is to the points that she was just making. We've been looking at helping departments build up. And there are positions that are, for the lack of a better term, just underfunded and not competitive comparatively to other communities. So we're starting there.
Okay.
So when we do present the budget to the council, this year one into my time here in office is going to be focused more on those roles other than the other positions that this certainly, there's a lot that's happening in the procurement department. There are some justifications we need to make, along with bringing in a number 2 person, a second chief procurement officer, to establish a little bit more sustainability, so that when our number 1 is out for whatever reason, and knock on wood, hopefully doesn't decide to leave us one day, the continuity of the office maintains itself. So right now, for this, as far as this office is concerned, the changes are necessary. It isn't too much of an increase in our budget. It's hard to say for what I want to commit to and present to the council soon without knowing what the 23 projections are. But as far as this office is concerned, they're not asking for too much. It is a critical component to our financial. We have our different financial functions of our department, and this is a critical piece to that. In order to establish the greater sustainability we keep talking about as far as all departments are concerned. We're all very dependent on what happens in that procurement office.
Yeah, and obviously Lori does a great job. Lori, one of these empty right now and you're trying to fill it? Or are both of these got current income?
Correct, I have to formally advertise for the accounts payable specialist.
Okay.
The position is open. Madi Cologne is acting in that position in addition to her other hat, the office clerk. So she's, helping out tremendously in that regard. I do want to say that I was blessed to have Anna Guzman in the office. And when Madi started, she's been with us just over about a year, going on a year and a half now. There was a tremendous amount of cross-training between Anna and Madi. And so, she stepped right in and just, took on the workload, and we're both taking on the workload. The office is significantly more the volume between ARPA spending and the school department now having federal URSA monies to spend, and everything having to be either spent or invoiced out within 2 to 3 years. There's a tremendous volume of work that's coming in the pipeline. So we're coming into year end with close, and my office works very closely with Tanya's office. I would like to publicly thank our auditor, Tanya, and her assistant, Sharon, and her team for helping my office through these challenging times. So I'm very appreciative of that. But again, this would help me kind of, look to something that can kind of, get the office back to where it should be.
Okay. Counselors, any questions?
Yeah, Counselor
Coun-
Jordan?
Yes, Counselor Anderson Burgos.
Yeah, well, last year when we were discussing, or it was a prior year, I'm not sure right now. But when we were discussing the salary study, what we discovered were there was a lot of employees who have been underpaid and overworked, and the departments were understaffed. And I guess what Lori is bringing to the table is she's trying to bring some stability to the already stressful work environment. And I think it's throughout the city, and it's unfortunate, our city is in the position it's in. But I really feel that this move that Lori's making is a smart one, and it will help lessen the blow that this department has undergone. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you for noticing me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Unanimous. Item 3 is adopted. I see Tanya is now with
Thank
us.
you.
So, yeah.
Thanks,
take
Lori.
care. Yeah. See you, Lori.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So it would be in order to go remove from the table back to item number 2.
So moved.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to remove item 2 off the table to go back to that discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So to refresh everybody's memory, this is the 4440 from Veterans Direct to Contracted Professional Services. This is related to the Personnel Department for a contract from Tyler Technologies. I'd like to recognize the city auditor. Tanya, can you address this, please?
I sure can. So this is an actual assessment from Tyler Technologies to come in and take a good look at our human resources and payroll modules to see if we can start start accounting for our accrued paid time off in our payroll system, as well as do some like good onboarding for our HR department, keeping good records of our employees, and to do things like that to make sure that we are using our, our system as much as we can, because of course we're paying for it, but we're not utilizing it to its maximum capacity.
Oh, okay.
Plus,
Well,
it will save the city a lot of money
yes.
to, to have all those records, documented, and it will allow for us to create procedures and better policies for the city regarding accrued paid time off, both sick and personal and vacation.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you. I wanted to check to see if that's in fact what was going on, so I'm very delighted to hear that that's the case. I recently filed an order just in fact to do exactly this. So this is extremely timely, and I appreciate the quick response in this from both Kelly, the mayor, and yourself to act on this, because it's amazing to me in this day and age that we're still operating on paper sheets as to what people's accrued time is, and moreover, people are essentially keeping track of their own time, and thirdly, that we're on the quote-unquote honor system, which for those that are honorable, that system always works, and for those that are less than honorable, it doesn't work. So it's good that we have this, because in the event that there are payouts, we want to make sure that that is accurately accounted for, and that taxpayers are not paying 1 shilling more than they should be. And that also, conversely, the employee is not being cheated out of any money that they're owed. So it works for everybody. So yes, I think this is a wonderful thing. Any other questions, counselors? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve item 2.
Is there a second? Yep, that has been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. That's also unanimous, 3-0. Now we can move along to item 4.
Motion to take up 4.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to take up item number 4 off the table. This is the CPA recommendations for FY22 CPA projects. All in favor of removing that from the table?
Aye.
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 Okay, let's just briefly go through this. Let's see here. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 projects, and it looks like they had various rankings, and it looks like the CPA group recommended 4 for our approval and consideration. Having said that, I see that the chair of the CPC committee is with us. I see Meg McGrath-Smith. I'd like to recognize her to walk us through these 4 recommendations and any action that Meg is requesting of the council. Ms. McGrath-Smith, if you could take the floor and walk us through this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have 2 projects today as an extension of our last request, and this would conclude our funding recommendations for the year. So the 2 projects that we're going to ask City Council to approve this time around, one is the Miracle League of Western Massachusetts Playground for All. This is a fully accessible adaptive playground, so particularly a playground that can be used for families of children with disabilities. And the beauty of this project is that it's on city-owned land next to the current playground that's already at Kennedy Field. Doesn't encroach on the playing fields at all. It will happen right parallel to it in that space over where the brick wall is for the school, the Highland, school that used to be there. And the really nice thing about that is that there are very few families who have one disabled child who then have only disabled children, or have multiple children and they're all disabled, right? So the niceness of being able to put it next to an existing playground is that it really becomes a really usable space for families who have multiple children, right? And it being able to really support all of the needs of a family. This is something that the Miracle League has worked with Westfield to make a small accessible playground, but this will really be something that will be very new for our region. Could be a really great draw, and certainly addresses a need that's currently not being met. And that's for $350,000. It's a big ask, right? It'll be our second largest ask for any project, other than the Holyoke Boys and Girls Club playground that we funded in our first funding cycle. But I think the reason why 350 feels like a legitimate amount of money to put forward is that they've already put a lot of skin in the game. So they've already raised $100,000 towards the project, including $30,000 from the Rotary and $70,000 from other sources. Initially, there's one piece financially I want to shift, just in terms of making sure you have the right details. In the original description that we sent, we had that the total projected budget was $439,426. And one piece that we had to work with them on was just the fact that it's on city land means they have to follow prevailing wage laws. That was something that had not originally been built into the budget. So that meant that with prevailing wage, the costs went up by a little bit less than 25%, up to $477,822. So we are asking the city council to approve 350, and then there will be an additional, 27.8 that they're going to raise on their own after that funding is approved, which they have a plan to raise that through their golf tournament and a series of other community asks. So the fact that we're only coming in with a part of it feels really good, because it means it's part of a project that's really wanted and supported by the community. The second one is the Girls Inc. headquarters and program center at 480 Hamden. That's for $150,000. It falls underneath the historic preservation category. This was the old O'Connell building that's been there since 1897. Certainly sort of one of those founding families that really saw Holyoke grow up and prosper and develop. And so it's $150,000 for the masonry repair and also the repair of the slate roof. So it'll really maintain sort of its historic features as they currently exist. And we'll also support Girls Inc., which supports low-income girls aged 5 to 18 as they move their new headquarters there. And again, it's like skin in the game. We see they've already raised $3.1 million towards their $5 million capital goal. So this moves them further towards that. But it's part of a wider project that's moving forward with wide community support.
Okay. So these were not already appropriated for FY22, and what, you've come across some extra money? The other four projects like stained glass and Wisteria Hearst and Scott's Tower and Glutech Woods, those were already funded, but then you've come across some additional money, and that's where these two are now coming from?
So the way that we've done it in the past is sort of, it takes us a few meetings to go through all of the projects. Sometimes we have additional questions. We want to bring people back in. In this case, the issue of the prevailing wage caused us to want to make sure that we had more information. And the same thing with the Girls Inc. The building itself, we wanted to make sure it would pass muster with Mass Historic. So any building that we give funding to for historic preservation has to have a preservation restriction. That's to protect the taxpayers' investment. We would never want to provide funding and then a year later they turn around and sell the property and are able to profit from the money that they were given from taxpayers. So we had a conversation with the Historic Commission. We had a meeting where a number of their members joined a CPA meeting. We met with the project leads for Girls Inc. along with their architect to make sure that they understood a preservation restriction would be required. And we really had to hear from them to make sure that we thought their plan would be supported by Mass Historic, who has to approve the preservation restriction. So just the complication of both projects meant that we weren't ready to vote in a single meeting for all of them. We had these additional questions and it caused it to take us kind of 2 rounds. So we put the initial projects forward and now we're putting this second and final round forward.
Okay. So the thing that I would like to talk, Miracle League, I'm 100% on board for that one. I have, so the first one, the 350 request, I'm an absolute yes on that one. I have questions on the Girls Inc. one. Here's why. The thing of it is that building recently came off the tax rolls and is now gone to exempt. So we're already taking a huge hit financially, the city, from a tax perspective. That's in and of itself is a gift to Girls Inc., right? They don't have to pay property taxes anymore on that building. Now for us to then say, here's another $150,000 of our tax money on top of free taxes for life, to now go fix up your building. To me, that's a bridge too far. I mean, I think that's kind of licking the plate at this point. And we have a number of other things that, need these type of resources. And I think the city is doing right by them already by giving them free taxes. I think that's too much. And so I don't know why, in light of that, we couldn't do some other projects that are on the list or otherwise, or save the money for another year that could save the city some money and some of these other things. It's, we only have so much money to go around. And by saving them, I think it's something in the order of $35,000 a year in property taxes. That's a pretty nice thing to do for them.
I mean, I will only say that this was a conversation that we had as a committee, and we read 2 letters into the record from folks who similarly had concerns about nonprofits being able to, proceed with CPA funding. I will say that the legislation was really created more for nonprofits than for profit companies, particularly because there are just restrictions that are required that individual private business owners might have a really hard time committing to because of the flexibility they want as individual private business owners or developers. So we saw that happen with the train station. In this case, the owner was not willing to accept a preservation restriction or a restriction of any kind. So in this case, I think you're going to keep seeing nonprofits come forward for CPA funding. In this case, I completely understand because it was something that came off the rolls. But in this case, it was someone who came, to us. They were willing to take on the property and develop it. We could choose not to give them the $150,000, but the building would still remain a nonprofit. Nothing will change there. What would change is they would maybe take the slate off and replace it with asphalt, because there are companies that will happily come in and say, we'll give you a free roof. Just let us take your slate. This happens all the time, right? We've seen this happen again and again in Holyoke. Or the masonry repair could be done, but could be done with less fidelity. So we could choose not to fund them for sure. There are no other projects this year that we would immediately divert that funding to, right? There were reasons why we chose not to fund the other projects. But I think not funding them won't change the situation, other than to mean that the building itself will not be preserved with perhaps the same fidelity or quality.
Mm-hmm. So it says here that they're raising $5 million. So ours is 150 towards the 5 million. So it's not a particularly large portion of the overall project in terms of what they do or don't do. What's that?
That's because our funding can only be used for certain things.
Right.
We're really limited in terms of what someone can ask us for. Mm-hmm. We can offer funding for historic preservation. So if you want to bring your, exterior of your building up to historic preservation, requirements from the Department of the Interior, we can support that. We can support the slate roof. They can't ask us for anything else. We can't pay for their elevator lift, right? We can't pay for their vestibule. So the amount of funding they're asking for us is just to be able, for those pieces of the exterior that can be done if they're either brought up with historic preservation in mind.
Understood, but my point in bringing up the fact that this only represents 3% of their total budget is to say, if they don't get this funding, it's not a big dramatic effect to their overall goals, because it's only 3% of their total funding. The other thing I wanted to point out is I don't in and of itself have a problem giving money from time to time to nonprofits, but where something has always been a nonprofit or has been for decades and decades and decades and decades, that to me doesn't have a budget impact, when we want to help folks out. But where this is a situation where they took a taxed property and went to non-taxed, we don't want to necessarily continue to encourage that, right? We want to preserve the current nonprofits that we have. We're not trying to grow tax-exempt property in the city, or we won't have a city, right? We're going to be all mission and no budget and no money to fund it, because if we continue to have everybody with free taxes, we're tapped out. So, I don't think this is necessarily doing us any great favor. I mean, it's nice that Girls Inc. is, choosing to stay in Holyoke, but we also have bills to pay, and it would have been ideal if nonprofit things stay in nonprofit, tax-free, and things that are already getting paid and taxed. We've had a number of these. We had the Grin and Barrett building when HCC took that recently. We recently had the medical office building across from Providence Hospital came off. We recently had the Sears Automotive came off the tax rolls, and that went exempt as a school for the union. You start adding these all up, it's some serious money. So fortunately, we've had a few new ones come on, which is good. That is encouraging. For example, I understand the new behavioral hospital eventually be paying us some taxes, so that's a plus. But it's something that we need to consider as we're looking at this. But otherwise than that, a good program, and I'm sure they would spend it wisely. But I have a couple counselors' hands are up, and I'll recognize Counselor Anderson Burgos first. Counselor Anderson Burgos, please.
Thank you, Counselor Jordan. I think I'm trying to stay more focused on the fact that they're trying to preserve the historic portion of the building and not so much as us lending or giving away money, taxpayers' money, which I'm against as well. I don't like just giving away money to a nonprofit especially. But I think in this case, I believe Megan was making the point that we're trying to preserve the historic facade of this building, which is true if the Girls Inc. decides, okay, well then if we don't have the money, let's just change the face of this, and and the whole purpose for the CPA is just to do that, is to preserve our historic buildings, which, let's face it, we have lost so many of them, and this one here, this building here is really historic. I found out through when I went to visit the late and great Marty Dunn how historic that building was and how important it was for him to be there. So for us to just step in, maybe just to help a little to keep that facade, I think it's a good investment. But everyone obviously is entitled to their own opinion, and I respect yours, obviously. But I just felt the need to say that for the record. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Counselor Anderson Burgos. I'd like to recognize Counselor Israel Rivera has joined us. Counselor Rivera, please.
Sorry for the late showing. I had a board meeting with my job before this. And thank you for recognizing me, Counselor Jordan. Just to kind of speak to the matter with regards to the Girls Inc. situation. I hear the concerns with regards to the nonprofits and the nonprofit situation. But how do I say this? Eventually, it's three buckets. There's historical preservation, it's parks, and then there's I think affordable housing, right? Eventually, you're gonna have nonprofits that are gonna be applying to improve their parks, improve like a little park in the area where the community ends up using it, especially if there's somebody like the YMCA, the Girls Inc., or the Boys and Girls Club. Could be somebody from Nueva and La Se. These nonprofits, although they are nonprofits and they're tax exempt, they service a large portion of our community, right? The idea with the tax dollars is to try to spread them out as much as you can amongst our residents throughout the whole community as much as you can. I guess we got to understand that this was the second round, right? A lot of these applications that are going through now, they didn't make it the first time around because some of the concerns that you guys have brought up, those were the concerns the first time, right? The second time around, they made it because they made the cut the second time around. They almost didn't make the cut, to be honest. And it was because of some of the concerns that you guys brought up around, especially that $150,000 out of their whole budget is you said like a third of their budget, or no, not even that. Whatever it is, the number was. But ultimately, like
3%.
3%, yeah. I had the same question too, Councilor Jordan. Like, this is not going to make or break their project. But ultimately, what led me to actually vote in that favor is that I know that the Girls Inc. is a long-standing organization in Holyoke. My wife went to the Girls Inc. as a child. My mother-in-law worked there. I went to the Holyoke Boys and Girls Club, and the Girls Inc. has shared a space since forever, right? So finally, they have their own space. The girls, the women, Girls Inc. finally have their own actual space. That's what helped me vote in favor for this. If not, I might have been as reserved as you are, because I truly feel like these are taxpayer dollars, and whatever it is that we invest these dollars in should be for the public benefit overall, right? And what sold me on the public benefit is that a lot of girls in this community are going to go through those buildings and go through those doors. So will the $150,000 like make or break their project? No. Will it be like a historical saving of a building? Probably not, but it's going to add value to the community, and a lot of our youth are going to be able to take advantage, or at least experience being in the building that the $150,000 that it's going to go to. I hear the concerns. I shared some of them. I didn't vote for this project the first time around. I voted for it the second time around, mostly because in my opinion, when I'm looking through these projects, I'm looking first for what is going to be the public benefit for the community overall, especially when it's taxpayer dollars. American League of Western Mass was easy for me to say yes. It's being built in a park that's for the city. So the city owns the park. The city is going to be overall. So yes, that's a great project. But I feel like this is something that we got to kind of do to help the city move forward, help Girls Inc. take the next step, and show support for an organization that has been around here for a very long time and trying to give back to our community. That was my reasoning for voting for it. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but I just wanted to give you some perspective on that.
No, that's good perspective. I really appreciate it. You know, I guess my argument is by giving them free taxes for life, we are supporting the organization, and that is Holyoke taxpayers helping them out. I mean, I wish I got free taxes for life. So, you know, that's a good thing. So they're saving $35,000 a year, so they should put that towards whatever they want to do with their building. But that's, you know, again, all great points. Good people can agree to disagree on this one. There isn't, I don't think, any disagreement on Miracle League. I think that's a no-brainer to me. So let's do some motions here and let's move this forward, because I think everybody said what they wanted to say. So I'm going to make a motion. Councilor Puello, let's see if you're on board, and we'll see what Councilor Anderson Burgos comes down with. I'm going to say recommend a yes on Miracle League and a no on Girls Inc. That's going to be my motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, so there's a second for that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Counselor Burgos?
No, I'm a no, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. All right, so the motion is to send it up to the council, 2-1 in favor of yes on Miracle League, 350,000, no on Girls Inc. for 150. Moving right along to item number 5, which I think is just a housekeeping thing. That was an extra communication for Councilor Rivera. So we'll just take that off the table if that's okay.
Yep, so moved.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
And we can just forward this. This is just some background information from our representative to the CPA committee, Councilor Israel Rivera, giving us some background on these two projects. So if we can just make a motion to refer that back to the full council?
Yeah, motion to refer to full council.
Okay, all in favor?
Second.
Opposed, so
Aye.
moved. All right, moving right along to item number 6. We have is there a motion to remove item number 6 for the fire department off the
So
table?
moved.
I'll make the motion.
All right. Item number 6 is a transfer request in the amount. I'd welcome the fire chief and any of the esteemed members of the fire department to come forward if they wish. We have a transfer request in the amount of $75,000 from the firefighter salary line to overtime in the amount of $75,000. And I see Chief Preskopowski's with us. Chief, you have the floor. If you could walk us through your request for the $75,000, please.
Sure. Thank you for having us in tonight. This fiscal year's budget, we started with a budgeted amount of $360,000. We've expended $295,443 so far. We have a remaining balance of $64,556. Our average overtime per pay period is $15,549. So what we're trying to do is forecast what we're going to need for the rest of the year, and obviously we're going to be a little bit short. So we have existing funds within the firefighter line. We'd like to move that money over into overtime. Hopefully this will be our one and only transfer for the year. You know, hopefully there won't be any unforeseen things happening coming up for the rest of the fiscal year. But if everything stays the same, this should be our one and only transfer for the year. And I'm available for questions.
I don't know if this is a clerical error or not, but there's some documents here, FY21 Emergency Management Performance Grant, 20 grand attached to the back of this request. Is that in any way related to this? Okay. All right.
I think that might be a grant coming up. I think it's the last item on your agenda.
Okay, so that just got misstapled. I just wanted to ask about that.
Yep.
Okay, so we have $75,000. This has been your only transfer request for overtime for the year thus far, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
All right, thank you. And you feel that the 64 that you have now is not going to be enough to cover what you project will be 295 for the year?
Yeah, that's correct, Counselor. Something to keep in mind when we put our budget in for the fiscal year, we originally asked for 400,000.
Okay.
Mayor Murphy cut it down to 360. We have to remember too, when we were doing our forecasting, the last 2 fiscal years, we didn't have a St. Patrick's Day parade. We didn't have that influx of requests for services by the fire department in regard to the weekend. So we do have those coming in this year. This coming up pay period, we are going to have a large increase in overtime for that event. We also have some holidays coming up with Easter and Memorial Day. Something else to keep in mind, that we were actually 8 firefighters short for a large part of this fiscal year due to some civil service issues and things like that. So we were 8 firefighters short. We do have those firefighters onboarded right now, they're on apparatus and waiting to go to the fire academy. We currently have 3 firefighters in the academy right now. We have 3 personnel out on extended personal sick leave and 1 person out on IOD. So a culmination of all these things is why we're forecasting a small shortage in the line, and this transfer will help offset that.
Okay, and it should be noted you are taking this from within your own department, so we give you kudos for that. And just walk me through again for everybody that's listening, why there's 75,000 extra among firefighters. It's from unfilled positions?
Unfilled positions, positions that we tried to fill, but due to the civil service requirements and COVID and everything else that came along with it, it took a while to get these firefighters on board and hired.
Cool. All right. Questions from counselors?
Yeah, I just have a general
Counselor
comment.
Puello.
Thanks, Mr. Vice Chairman. It's good to see you, Chief. I just wanted to say, I have no problem voting for this. This is money that they already have that they're transferring from one line item to another, and then I wanted to congratulate the Chief on his retirement and for his years of service to the city. I saw the sash you had your last parade.
Thank you, Counselor.
I hope you enjoyed it, and it's good to see you. I still got to go down before you take off.
Thank you.
So Mr. O'Connor also had a last parade sash there, so we're going to miss you guys. So stay around. Now, do they give you a bus like they do for the cops? What do they put retired firefighters on?
We got to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is not right. I mean, they got this double-decker bus. We got to get something for the fire department. Yeah. What's that, Chief? On the bottom floor. Oh my, no respect.
See how that works?
Oh my God. You got to alternate years.
I think you're right.
All right, great. Okay, counselors, any questions of our fire chief on this item? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. All
Thank you,
right.
everyone.
Item number 6 is adopted.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, and next up, we have another fire department item. Is there a motion to remove item 7 from the table?
Motion to take up 7.
Motion to remove item number 7. off the
Okay, that
table.
has been made and seconded. All in favor of removing item number 7 from the table?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so moved. Okay, item number 7, that in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, the City Council hereby accepts the provisions of the Safe Fire Education Grant, $6,275, the Senior Safe Grant, $3,255, for a total of $9,530 with no match. This grant that the council authorize this grant in the establishment of a fund or other method appropriate for the accounting of the receipts and expenditures of all resources associated with the administration of that grant. On that note, Fire Chief, if you would walk us through this one, please.
Sure. This is a grant that we get every year. This is the grant that helps Lieutenant Maria Pelcher and her fire safety educators go out into the community, teach fire safety to the public school children. It also gets us into the LD high rises, teach fire safety for them. This is an effective program that has really seen great results. It's been going on for about 27 years now. And from those 27 years, we've seen a 78% reduction in childhood or child deaths due to fire.
That's
So
awesome.
It's awesome. It's an awesome program. She does an awesome job.
Yes, she does.
She couldn't be with us tonight. She's not feeling very well, so I told her I'd take care of it for her. But this money goes to offset those costs that it costs to get those educators into the schools and teach fire safety education.
Could you give us that statistics again? 78% reduction
in child deaths due to fire.
in child death related to fire.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Obviously, any death is a tragedy, so anything that we can do in this area is tremendous. Okay,
This is a no-match grant.
and a no-match grant, so all gravy to the city. Obviously, a wonderful cause. So, is there any questions, counselors?
Beautiful.
Hearing none, I'll make a motion that it be approved. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So
Aye.
moved. That's unanimous. And let's see here.
Motion to take up item.
We're going to skip ahead to do item 9, if that's okay, because we're going to save the police for last tonight. Sorry, Chief.
Second.
You get to ride on the top of the bus, so you get the fire department gets to go first. So, it's a small trade-off. All right, so we'll motion to suspend the rules to take up item number 9 off the table. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so
Aye.
moved. Okay, let me read this. So, item number 9, and I see Jeff Trask, esteemed fire commissioner, is with us. That in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, the City Council hereby accepts the provisions of the FY21 Emergency Management Performance Grant, $20,150 in-kind match. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That the City Council authorize the establishment of a fund or other method appropriate for the accounting of the receipts and expenditures of all resources associated with the administration of said grant. So, on that note, Jeff, you want to take lead on this and walk us through it?
Sure, no problem. So every year, the City of Holyoke is the beneficiary of what we call the Emergency Management Performance Grant. It is a formula-based grant based on the population here in Holyoke. The funding has to be used for emergency management expenditures, and generally we look at emergency management expenditures as anything that could help aid in public safety response here in the city. So we try to find something that's only used, something that's not only used just for times of crisis, but something we can also use, say, during the course of the year for planned events and other issues that we might encounter, so we get maximum value out of what we purchase. The grant is a match grant, so it's So they look at it as the total project of, say, let's say $40,000. So we match 20,000 of city funds to the 20,000 received in the grant. So the 20,000 in city funds is usually obtained through the emergency management budget, along with other expenditures that are made towards public safety here in the city. This year, we're actually looking to invest in a mobile traffic signal. So Superintendent O'Connor is here, and he can actually speak to the actual purchase that we're looking to buy for the counselors' benefit.
Great. Superintendent O'Connor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This has been a long project that we've been working on. So, say a traffic light with mass number traffic light gets knocked down, we'll be able to deploy this and to a fact that we'll be able to put the lights back on traffic or put them on flash in a timely fashion. A lot of the newer traffic lights that are coming into the city do not have a breakaway base. They are a standalone post with a sub base to it. If they get hit and knocked over, they take several months to come in.
And also, counselors, the nice thing about this particular unit is it not only is used during an emergency, like the superintendent referenced, but it could also be used, let's say if we had to aid in evacuation of, a certain area, we needed to reorganize a traffic signal or add a signal into an intersection that didn't already have one. This is a device that can be deployed and used in those circumstances as well. So a lot of bang for our buck in term and really getting something that is going to benefit multiple departments under multiple circumstances with the funding.
Fantastic. Okay, great. And Joe, I wanted to ask you, how are you making out with getting parts? I know in this crazy world we live in, and I know before we even had that there was always difficulty getting parts to fix the traffic signals and things like that. So are we seeing this as being more prevalent of a potential challenge for the city on keeping these lights operational? And I know you do and your team do a fantastic job in this regard. So I don't know if you could weigh in on how we're doing logistically on keeping these light signals going.
It is. It will help a lot to keep the lights going and the intersections up and running. However, we still got the old cabinets that we're still working with. As I believe about 10 years ago, I came before you,
yes,
Counselor, and gave you a little presentation. And we still have those controllers out there. We're very fortunate that the mayor and the city council gave us $1.4 million to upgrade 11 intersections. Those intersections are in a process. I believe we have 2.5 more to do.
Oh, okay.
And so far, it's going good.
Super. Great. All right, counselors, anything else we'd like to add? We're on item 9, Joe. And we've just been joined by the real chairman. I'm the artificial chairman of the Finance Committee. I'm sort of doing an Al Haig right now. I'm in charge here. So anyways, counselors, is there anybody that would like to weigh in on this? Hearing none, I'll make a motion that it be approved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Council Jordan,
Yes, Counselor Anderson Burgos.
may I be excused?
You most certainly may, and we thank you so much for coming and helping us with our quorum despite your personal physical challenges. So we appreciate everything you did for us, Counselor Anderson.
I guess
Burgos.
I owe you big time one.
Yeah.
Take care.
No, listen, gentlemen. Through pain, I get through. It's what I was voted to do, and it's a privilege and an honor. And thank you,
See you guys.
for your patience with my health concerns. Thank you so much. I respect you all. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We
Feel
really
better, Juan.
appreciate it. I hope you feel better soon. Take care, Chief. All the best. Yep. All right. So, Joe, if there's no objection, I'll just keep going. We're almost done. Do it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, rolling up now to item 8, we welcome our esteemed police chief, Chief Pratt. And is there a motion to remove item number 8 from the table?
Motion to take up item 8.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to take item 8 off the table. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, item number 8 is a $200,000 transfer from the patrolman salary line to overtime in the amount of $200,000. This is obviously for the police department, and I'll recognize our Chief of Police, David Pratt, to walk us through this one. Chief?
Okay, yeah, this transfer is from the patrolman's line item to overtime. All 200,000 from the patrolman line item to overtime. That money is from shortages and grants that allowed us to have that extra money there. It's money within our budget that we're moving over to the overtime. I believe that this will be the last one I come for. I've been before you 3 other times so far. This will be the 4th and hopefully final time for this fiscal year. I think that this puts us on pace to continue what I talked about as far as our decline in the overtime from 2020 at 1.25 million to if this turns out to be the final transfer at 925,000.
So this would make 925, this
Correct.
one. Okay.
For this fiscal year.
And I'm going to ask you the same, are you done? I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I think that's about it. I think we've been doing it incrementally like the council wanted.
Yep.
We've had our challenges with scheduling and getting it right, but I think we've come into a pattern now, and I think we're all starting to get it and keep a good system going so that we can look at smaller increments of the overtime transfers and keep it all straight so we know where the money's going.
Chief, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked the fire chief is, I see this is all coming from within your department. It's coming from the patrolman salary line. In this case, 200,000. That seems like a lot to have quote unquote extra in your salary line for patrolmen. Why that kind of amount is it?
Well, we're currently we're about to be at 81 patrolmen due to retirements and retirements basically and our shortages that we had. And also, as you know, we have grants that are funded that pay for patrolmen's salaries, and that money then is used to help replace those officers,
Okay.
and that's where the money comes from.
How many officers were you budgeted at for the year, if you recall?
92.
92, okay. And your actual right now is 81, plus you're getting some grant support.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, technically, I'm sorry. Technically, we're at 83 right now, but within a month, we'll be at 81.
Okay. So that obviously went into your forecast here.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Counselors, any questions for the chief?
Yeah,
Counselor
more
McGivern.
just a comment, Chief. A comment. That's incredible. If I just heard 900 and
925.
925.
This will bring us to 925 for the year.
Yeah, that I think is going to be one of the smallest overtime figure we've heard in recent past.
I would say so. Like I said, from 2020 at 1.25 million to today at 925.
Just keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Well, we're trending. Our average payroll is down again now, under 30. We were around 35. Now we're at 34,750. So we seem to be trending in the right directions. We've added personnel, as you know, which I think has helped. Obviously, my next goal is to add. We are scheduled to send 10 more patrolmen to the academy in June and July, 2 different academies. So that will hopefully get our numbers back up and help us to keep spending, from spending the overtime.
Must be that new mayor's tightening the strings back there, huh?
That's it.
I started before you got here.
Keep squeezing them, Mayor. Keep squeezing them.
It's been definitely a collective effort. The mayor's been very supportive of
Good.
what we've been
We appreciate Josh's efforts on our behalf. Okay, anybody else, counselors? All right, I'll make a motion that it be approved. Is there a second to that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. All right, that's 3-0, approved. All right, we have just 2 items left, and that's item number 10.
Make a motion to do 10 and 11 as a package.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to take items 10 and 11 as a package. All in favor
None of
of
these are
removing those from the table? No, you're all set, Chief. Yeah, thank you.
care,
Okay, thank you.
See you. Bye now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I put these on the agenda to dispose of.
Okay.
Each, as you can see the dates, one is very old. Our administrative assistant has reached out to the petitioners. One is he's unable to find, and the other is no longer needing the license itself. I did ask Jeffrey to reach out to the law department because these are petitions, one for secondhand license and the other for the vendor license. I'm not sure if we can give them leave to withdraw. So I would suggest we just deny them at this point unless the law department gives us different advice.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and maybe just, I don't know if it means anything, I think it does, but maybe if we deny without prejudice, just in case there's some sort of time limit.
I'll make that motion to deny without prejudice.
Yeah, so I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. So those two were denied without prejudice, and now that puts us right to the end of we're all done.
We'll have to pass the baton more often, Mr. Chairman. Yeah.
How about that? Yeah, it was nice. Everybody kept it moving, so that's that. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And put a fork in us, we're done. All right. Yeah, my.